Hi traders, this is Sascha Gogolin, coach and instructor at Second Skies Trading. Welcome to our weekly top trade review video. Chris is traveling right now and in Japan, but he wanted to get a video out to you, so that is why I'm covering for him this week. In this week's video, we'll cover a live trade done by one of our senior members, Blackie, who nailed a great short trade on the euro dollar. And throughout this video, we'll review his entry, his stop loss, his take profit, and we'll also go over how he analyzed the price action context to arrive at this trade idea. And I'll also share some key observations, what I really liked about the trade, the price action context, and some key takeaways from this trade, along with potential improvement options, so you can see how we trade and that you can find more profitable trade setups on your own. So let's start by looking at his post here. And as you can see here, he posted this in the end of January, and he works us through his trade here with a multiple time frame analysis as we teach inside the course. So looking at the first image here, he clearly describes that the euro dollar is in a long-term bearish trend and that we had a consolidation here, a midterm resistance, and also a with trend false break. So overall, he was bearish and only looking for shorting opportunities. Then he goes down to the 4-hour time frame here, and he clearly sees how the bullish order flow is weakening, which is represented here by these corrective structures getting weaker and weaker. As you can see, the pullbacks are getting weaker and weaker, and this last one here is horizontal and corrective, so not as sharp pullbacks as these. There's basically no reaction to this support here almost, and just a minor bounce, but overall a horizontal corrective structure here at this short-term support, and this is where he's looking to go long based on the long-term context, and also seeing here and reading in the price action in real time that bullish order flow is getting less and less and squeezed out of the market. And then here on the last chart, we can see his trade. So this is the corrective structure magnified, the horizontal one we saw in the last chart. And here again, a with trend false break on top. So he sees this false break and thinks he wants to get short. As he sees price break back into this corrective structure, looks to get short at the top, and here you can see his entry, which is the yellow triangle here in the chart, and price sells off after hitting his entry, comes back one more time, and then just slams lower in another bearish impulsive move. And here down here is his green dot where he took profit, which is a key support that's coming in there. We'll have a look at this and on the live charts in a second here, and you will see how well he nailed his take profit here for overall of 5.9 R, which means he made 5.9 times the risk on this trade. So a fantastic trade here by Blackie. So before we dive into the live charts, let's just quickly review his entry, stop loss, take profit. So his entry was at 110.99, his stop loss at 111.14, and his take profit was at 109.95. Let's quickly have a look at the chart again. His entry here was at this yellow triangle, his stop loss is the red line, and his take profit is the green dot down here. So that being said, let's have a look at the charts, starting with the higher time frame, which was the higher time frame for Blackie's trade here. And as he outlined in his posts, he considered this still to be bearish, which I think is well analyzed. And it is something that we've talked about extensively in our weekly coaching sessions with our members once a week, and also shared inside the market commentary, which we post once a week, where we go through different pairs that we have on the radar for the upcoming week. So overall, the bearish trend, it's very volatile, but as you can see, the overall direction is bearish. After the bounce here around 109, we saw this horizontal corrective structure, range type formation forming, and at the top here we had a false break, then a pullback into the top of this range here, and which was then followed by strong selling again. Going down to the 4-hour time frame, we can see the same structure magnified. And let me just quickly mark the resistance zone, which comes in here and over here. And we have the support coming in around here up to roughly here. So as you can see here, this area acted as solid resistance back in October and November, and then also in December. So 3 times resistance, resistance, resistance. Then we had this sharp break above. But as you can see here, buyers were not able to hold price above here. Quick return back below this area of resistance. And then we had this pullback into resistance. And even though it was kind of strong, the resistance held really nicely, which was then followed by strong selling again, followed by another pullback into this resistance, which Blackie correctly identified, which this time was weaker. And this was also followed by another bearish impulsive move, strong selling here, and again followed by a corrective structure. But if you look at the difference here at this pullback, and then how price kind of holds below the 20 EMA here, and there's not a lot of bullishness and a bullish reaction to this area at all. And so this was something that Blackie here had on his radar, and this is the structure he was looking at. And once he saw this, he went down to the next lower time frame, which is the 1 hour chart, which in this case was his trading time frame, where he then saw these pullbacks again. So again, same price action, just magnified on the 1 hour chart. So this is the second pullback, which was weaker, followed by strong selling. And then we had this horizontal corrective structure here forming, which Blackie was looking at, and he was looking at it like this. And let's zoom in a little. So the first reaction was here in this area to the EMA, sell off, bounce, price came back, minor weak reaction here, strong buying met by equally strong selling, which often is a sign of a false break. So once Blackie saw this, he looked at this area and said, okay, this is a false break in line with everything I've seen on the higher time frame so far. So he's looking to go short in this area. And if you remember, here is his entry around 110.99 roughly. Let me mark this here. Roughly around here was his entry in this area. If you remember correctly on this candle, let's just quickly check. Yes, so here is his entry. And so price sold off heavily after the false break here, formed another small corrective structure inside the larger corrective structure, pulls back into this resistance, hits his target, hits his entry, sells off, then lingers around a little bit, and we see a stronger pullback here towards this resistance again, and makes it to these tops over here, and then just crashes lower here. So fantastic entry location in my opinion, and a really good top-down analysis by Blackie here. In terms of his stop, let's mark that real quick as well. His stop was at 111.14. 111.14 comes in roughly around here. There we go. So this just check. So here is his stop loss. So it's roughly around here. And then his target is down here at 109.995, 109.995. There we go. So roughly here. And if you look at his take profit here, you can see why he took his profit there, because this is a key support back from November 2019 here. So let me just zoom in a little so you can see better. Back from here, November 2019, and here as well. So middle and end towards November last year. This was a key support that is held, and price now came back to it, and it was a logical take profit area for Blackie here. So really, really well done on the take profit here, in my opinion. So this is overall the trade he took. So higher time frame was bearish, 4 hour time frame suggested weakening bullish order flow based on the context, which he read in real time there. And then here on the lower time frame, he saw this corrective structure with trend false break again, took an entry on the pullback into resistance, and then take profit at the next key support area. Looking at potential improvement ideas for this trade, in terms of target, I think Blackie nailed it here. He took profit at the next key support in line with the higher time frame analysis, which is exactly what I would have done as well. So in terms of target, I think Blackie crushed it here. So really well done by Blackie here. In terms of entry and stop loss, let's zoom in towards the structure a little bit more. Just look at his trade here. So we have his stop loss above here, middle of the wick, and we have his entry middle of the wick here. Let's just quickly mark this. So here is his stop loss, and here is his entry basically. So in terms of entry, Blackie went for the highest probability entry location, which is where the most touches happened and the most reactions happened within this resistance. So you can see over here, we have this first reaction, another reaction here, another reaction here, and another rejection from this resistance here. So basically 1, 2, 3 touches here to this resistance area here, and he went for this entry. So it's, in my opinion, a very good area to look for an entry, and it's the highest probability one. He could have gone for the entry around this top and this reaction here over to the left, but if he would have done that, that increases the chances of his trade getting filled. So that means it increases the chances of he missing out on the trade, because this rejection here could have been the last one to this resistance and we could have seen the sell-off right away. In this case, we saw this spike come through, which would have triggered any order inside of this resistance. But again, that's nothing we know in real time. So if he goes for a deeper pullback here, that decreases his chances of getting filled, increases the chances of missing the trade. So he went for the highest probability entry location, which was towards the lower end of the zone here, in my opinion. So just to show you the differences between the two, so highest probability location, stop loss up here, target down here. Just to show you the difference here, so if you go for a high probability entry, you do that at the expense of profitability, because if you go for a deeper entry into the zone, like this, or even the top, you can see how the stop loss gets smaller, profit potential gets larger and greater. And if you go for the absolute low of the zone, you can see how the stop loss increases and your profit potential gets less. But in terms of entry, I think Blackie did a really good job here. Removing the entry location, looking at the stop loss location, the way I look at it, there are actually 3 ways to place your stop here. The first is the most aggressive one, which is right above the resistance here with a little bit of buffer. So that's the most aggressive stop loss, but also the one that gives you the highest profitability for the stop loss and this entry combination. And as you can see, the downside, of course, is if there is a spike through the zone, you get stepped out and price moves into your favor. So that's the downside of taking very aggressive stops and very tight stops. Now, looking at the most conservative option is to have the stop all the way above this false break, which gives you a much greater chance of your trade surviving, and you can basically survive any spikes into this area and still make a profit, but it comes at the cost of decreased profit potential because the stop loss gets a lot larger. And there is actually a third option in here which I want to show you now, and one option that Blackie might have seen. I don't know that because he didn't talk about that in his post, but there's actually, if you look here at these 2 weeks, these 2 tops, there is a structure, lower time frame structure hidden within this false break, which is another false break on the lower time frame. So if we go down to the 5-minute chart, just have to zoom out a little, we'll go over here. You can see how this is a false break on the lower time frame. And for those traders that are more advanced, they can see this already on the higher time frame. So we had this corrective structure forming after the break above of the 1-hour resistance. Break above this smaller corrective structure as well, fast return crushing below this tiny resistance here and below the 1-hour resistance as well. So you have 2 false breaks at the same area, which can help you to actually increase your profit potential and to adjust your stop loss. So now Blackie had his stop loss here in the middle of this candle here. In my opinion, you could have improved it a little by moving it a little lower. I don't know if Blackie saw this opportunity with this false break on the lower time frame within the false break, but this, in my opinion, is a solid middle ground between the super aggressive stop, the very conservative stop. So just putting the stop above this area of resistance inside of this false break itself. Now, this difference here between Blackie's stop loss and the one I suggested here might not seem a lot, but if you look at the pips, this is 13.5 pips versus roughly 17 pips, which means 3.5 pips. And on this trade, it might not seem a lot, but this can add up a lot over time if you are good and if you steadily improve your stop loss and look for optimizations on your stop loss, because 3.5 pips over this series of 100 trades, that's 350 pips in profit, which can mean to the bottom line 20, 30, 40, 50 R on a series of 100 trades, which is a lot when it accumulates over time. So definitely worth looking at potentially improving stop losses, and look for these minor hints like this false break inside the false break to look for optimization potential on stop losses, for example. But overall, I think Blackie did a fantastic job here. He really crushed it with this trade. It's an A setup in my opinion here. So really well done by Blackie. Congratulations to Blackie for catching this trade here. So I hope you enjoyed this trade review video and the trade we covered here by Blackie. If you would like to learn how to trade like this, how to take trades like Blackie did here, make sure to visit our website at secondskiesforex.com, where you can find tons of free trading articles, trading tools, and market commentaries. We also have a free beginners course at Udemy, so if you're new to trading and you would like to learn more about the basics of trading the FX market, make sure to check out our free course over at Udemy. We'll put a link to that in the course description below. And other than that, make sure to hit the like button and post your comments and questions below, as it helps us with the YouTube algorithm to support us so we can keep doing more free videos like this for you. So with that being said, we're looking forward to your comments and feedback, and we'll see you inside the next video.